Thank you so much. Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum, my brother Pio and I, the PS Petroleum, Dr. Liban, nominated Senator Honorable Asige, a KPC Board of Directors Chairperson or her representative, Faith Poinet, and other board members of KPC here present, the KPC MD and the KPC Foundation Board of Trustees, and Chairperson, Mr. Joe Sang, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning again. Bwana mko baridi bila. Hamjapewa kakitu. Topange kakitu. Ladies and gentlemen, as I sat here today, and before I make my speech, I always, when I'm invited to such functions, I ask myself, why am I here? Sometimes you get invited to do the official function, but when you reach there, you get information that gives you the reason why you are there, over and above the official function that you're invited for. As a man of faith, and for those of you who go to church, you know sometimes when the preacher is preaching, you ask yourself, is that message for me? Or is it for somebody else? And somehow you get a message for yourself from the sermon that the preacher is giving. Today, as I sat and listened to the panelists, I realized that I'm here for more than just officiating on the Inuka Foundation. Several things popped up to me in my mind. One of them is, how are we implementing the laws that we have with respect to persons with disability as a country? Are we faithful to those laws? Are we doing enough to ensure that they are implemented because the policies and the laws exist? And I say this because under our laws, for example, AGPO is required to receive 30% of all government procurement contracts. For some institutions, such as maybe this one that we had before, you'd find that 30% of the contracts would amount to something like 10 billion. Can we say that this institution, for example, has given the AGPO the 30% to the people that are required to get? There are a number of challenges other than just passing that law that limits the implementation of the 30%. And I'm picking this from the fact that Honorable Asige has fought very hard to have a law passed. But that law, unless other pieces of legislation are changed, will not be able to achieve what it intends to achieve. I'll give you an example. If you do not give the people with disability the capacity to finance those contracts, then they are just on paper. Somebody else will be doing those contracts instead of them. So what do? We should be able to change two other pieces of legislation. One, the Law of Contract Act should stipulate that if a person with disability gets a contract, once the contract is performed, payment should be done within 45 days, so that we remove them from being part and parcel of that pending bills program. Number two, we probably need to think about changing the Banking Act, where we should be able to show that if an institution like KPC has given a contract to a person with disability, with this LPO, the bank should be able to finance that contract as long as they sign an agreement with KPC that the payment will be done through that bank. That cycle, that circuit will be complete, and therefore the 30% will be given life. You see where I'm going with this? Number three, and Kenneth said it here, when he was in school, it started with his friend who was a cook, Mr. Mugaka, setting up ramps or coming up with the idea of doing those rounds. So as I sat here today, I asked myself, are all my institutions compliant? So what came to my mind right away, and my peer has written it down, is that we'll be issuing a circular to audit all our institutions to confirm compliance. That, I think, is one of the single most reasons why I am here today, other than just launching this particular foundation, which is very critical. And I want to thank KPC Foundation before I read my speech. You're one of those institutions that are making the government proud. And my brother, you are doing very well in the Ministry of Energy, because most of your parastatals have returned profits this year. You are doing very, very well. I think I'm talking about KPC, I'm talking about KenGen, I'm talking about Kenya Power. So you are doing extremely well, which shows that it is possible for our institutions, once governance is ensured, good governance ensured, just as shown by KPC here, return profits. And with profits, we are then able to do the 1.5% to assist the people that needs assistance. Because Babu, without resources, will not be able to do these things. And as we said, let us call upon all our other institutions. Please, once you are given a job running an institution, which is a public institution, refer to Article 129 of the Constitution. Article 129 sub Article 2. It simply says, whatever decisions you make those decisions for the benefit of the people for whom you are working. So for me, that is what guides me every day. I make decisions because, as you can see, if you see these Inuka scholars, you would be a mad person to be making decisions or to be making policies that are meant to stop them from achieving their dreams or their goals, especially struggling as much as they do. So it is upon us, all of us, hands on deck, because we can't do this alone. It is a group effort, it's a team effort for us to be able to ensure that all our people get the benefit that they are required to get from the government and from our institutions. So having said that, let me start by saying I'm happy to be here today for the official launch of the Inuka Scholarship Program. This occasion marks a significant milestone in our nation's journey towards inclusive and equitable education for all our children, especially those with disabilities. I commend the KPC Foundation for its commitment to empowering people with disabilities through education. Through the Inuka Scholarship Program, the Foundation has demonstrated that when we invest in education and skills development of marginalized groups, we unlock their potential and pave the way for them to live meaningful, productive lives of dignity. Provision of scholarships is the best way to ensure that needy and vulnerable children in our society access education, and is in line with the Ministry of Education's mantra of leave no one behind. Over the years, the government of Kenya, working jointly with development partners, has been implementing the Elimu Scholarship Program, which has seen more than 52,000 students from needy and vulnerable backgrounds access education. But that is not enough. There is need to have many more programs like the Inuka Foundation program to cover the rest of the students, because the numbers are very, very large. These efforts address inequities under the ministry are implemented through the Secondary Education Quality Improvement Project, SEQUIP, and the Kenya Primary Education Equity in Learning, KPIL program, with support from the World Bank, the Global Partnership for Education, known as GPE, and the LEGO Foundation. The Elimu Scholarship Program uniquely stands out as the sole intervention that specifically and directly addresses inequity at household levels. The demand for scholarship support under SEQUIP and KPIL program has continued to increase annually. For instance, in 2024 alone, the program catered for more than 14,426 beneficiaries. For sustainability of the program, the ministry engaged the Jomo Kenyatta Foundation, a government institution, to administer the scholarships. I therefore thank the KPC KPC Foundation for stepping in with its own unique scholarship program that will assist the government in its commitment to ensure all needy children are enrolled in schools. I welcome more partners to join our scholarship initiatives as we prepare to transition the first cohort of our competency-based education class to grade 10 in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, education is the bedrock of any society, serving as the greatest equalizer and the key to unlocking human potential. It is a powerful tool that can lift individuals out of poverty, empower communities, and drive sustainable development. However, for far too long, children with disabilities have faced significant barriers in accessing quality education, hindering their ability to realize their full potential. According to the National Survey on Children with Disabilities and Special Needs in Education conducted in 2018, approximately 11.4% of children aged between 3 and 21 in Kenya have disabilities. That percentage translates to 2,489,252 children, 2.4 and above. The survey identified several challenges faced by children with disabilities in the education journey. These include lack of accessible infrastructure, inadequate teacher training, and negative attitudes towards these children. These challenges have resulted in low enrollment and high dropout rates among these vulnerable groups. However, this issue is not unique to Kenya alone. It is a global crisis. An estimated 240 million children worldwide live with disabilities, and many face significant barriers to inclusive, quality education, often being left behind in their communities and in the education systems. This is a serious concern that requires concerted efforts from government, civil society organizations, and the private sector to address. Ladies and gentlemen, under the leadership of His Excellency the President of our country, we have made significant strides in promoting inclusive education. Enrollment rates for children with disability in special needs institutions and those from marginalized regions has been on the rise. The government's initiatives such as the free primary education and free day secondary education programs have helped to increase access to education for all children, regardless of their socio-economic background or abilities. Kenya's commitment to inclusive education is further reflected in our policies and international agreements. We are committed to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, especially SDG number 4, which aims to ensure inclusive and quality education for all. The Kenya government recognizes that education is critical as an enabler of these SDGs, and is working towards ensuring that all our children, including those with disabilities, have access to quality education that prepares them for meaningful participation in society. It is, however, not lost on us that even as the government remains committed to ensuring that no child is left behind, significant challenges remain in our pursuit of equitable education for all, particularly for children with disability. This is why initiatives such as the Inuka Scholarship Program are crucial to bridging these gaps and exemplifying the power of collective action. I therefore commend the KPC Foundation for walking the talk on inclusion and investing in students living with disabilities when few others would. I'm impressed to note that in the 8 years that it has been in existence, the Inuka Scholarship Program has benefited 745 students from all the 47 counties with tuition fees, uniforms, and assistive learning devices. I'm confident that the number will double or triple in the next few years. This is in consideration of the fact that the program was recently expanded to include tertiary education scholarships. And talking of tertiary education, we opened the portal for COOPs on the 28th of March, and it will run all the way to 30th of this month. We have 246,000 students who passed last year KCSE and got C+ and above. But of important note is that the portal is open to candidates who start the examinations from the year 2000 onwards. From 2000 to 2024, you are free to apply if you meet the criteria or because you had missed to apply for one reason or another. Although last year we had that number of 246,000, we have in the universities, both private and public, placement positions of 305,000. So there are enough spaces for each and every one of our students to apply, and I encourage the parents who are here and the relatives of these children to aid them, assist them in making the application so that they can get the right courses in the right universities. The Inuka Scholarship Program has given our children hope, confidence, and a vision for the future, with some of them now boldly pursuing careers in fields like law, medicine, engineering, and many more. I'm informed that the Inuka Scholarship Program beneficiaries are rising as change makers and role models in their communities. They are opening minds and changing traditional attitudes about disability. By empowering children with disabilities through education, we are not only promoting their personal growth and development, but also contributing to the economic growth and social transformation of our country. I therefore urge other organizations, both private and public, to emulate KPC Foundation's example and invest in initiatives that promote inclusive education.